in southern Lebanon to move north to the Litani River ahead of an anticipated ground incursion. The UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon says it's already observed Israeli military vehicles move beyond the demarcation line. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news this hour, CAF confirms the dates as well as the times of the CAF Champions League quarterfinals, while Novak Djokovic says he'll continue to play as long as he still has the flair and the hunger. I'll tell you more at 12:30.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
It is 12:06 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on Channel Africa from an African perspective. Now, coming up in this hour, the Nigerian High Commission in South Africa is working closely with South African maritime authorities in ongoing efforts to locate missing crew members of the Nigerian tugboat Leo. And the African Diaspora Forum has welcomed a parliamentary call for universities in South Africa to disclose a list of all foreign academic staff members. And stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app, and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Today on #Africa Update Ask, the African Diaspora Forum has welcomed a parliamentary call for universities in South Africa to disclose a list of all foreign academic staff members. Now, we want to know, should universities prioritize hiring South African academics first, or should institutions recruit the best talent regardless of nationality? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +267 83 288 6684. #Africa Update Us.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa. Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 9:12 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The Nigerian High Commission in South Africa says it is closely coordinating with South African maritime authorities to support ongoing efforts to locate missing crew members of the Nigerian tugboat Leo. One person died, 5 remain missing, and 12 other crew members were rescued after their boat capsized due to a technical fault compounded by water turbulence. And for more on this development, we are joined on the line by Nigeria's acting High Commission to South Africa, Alexander Temitope Ajayi. High Commissioner, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Now, are you able to provide more specific details about the technical fault reported to have caused the vessel to capsize, and whether preliminary investigations suggest any mechanical negligence or regulatory non-compliance?
Thank you very much. At this stage, I might not be in a position to actually confirm or to give you details about the ongoing investigation, just for the reason that the investigation into the accident is still ongoing. And, every other agencies involved are actually working around the clock to unravel what might have caused the unfortunate incident.
And what information has been established about the weather and sea conditions, at the time of the incident? And to what extent did water turbulence contribute to the tragedy? Do you have any of those details?
Yeah, absolutely. What we have right now is that the boat ran into very troubled weather, and that the turbulence was very intense and chaotic, as at the time they were caught within it. So what we can say for now is that turbulence played a greater part in the accident, because the weather condition was found to be very, very terrible as at that time that the accident happened.
And how is the Nigerian High Commission coordinating operationally with the South African maritime authorities in the KwaZulu-Natal province, just in supporting, the search and rescue efforts for the 5 crew members who are still missing?
Thank you. I've been here in Port Elizabeth since Monday. Immediately, I got wind of the development. And I must use these very important occasions to thank the South African Maritime Authority, particularly the Minister of Transport, Mrs. Barbara Creasy, who has personally reached out to me over this unfortunate incident. They've been very up and doing when it comes to that. They reached out to me as early as Monday morning, and I had to flew to Port Elizabeth as I immediately and met the surviving crew aboard the Singaporean ship vessels that rescued them. And I also want to use this opportunity to extend our thanks to the Singaporean government through the ambassador in Pretoria for the timely intervention and the support given by the ongoing vessels destined for Singapore, who happen to be who happen to respond to the distress call from the crew, and did all they could to rescue the 12 that we have now. And as I said, I've been here coordinating very seriously with the South African Maritime and Safety Authority. We've been able to stabilize the crew. Medical emergencies have been applied on them, and they are in stable condition right now. And we've been working around the clock to ensure that we attend to remaining issues around it. And I can confirm that the crew, they are in good spirit now, and they should be ready to leave for Nigeria by tomorrow morning.
And what are the surviving crew members saying with regards to, what exactly unfolded, and for that until that point where they were able to be assisted by the Singaporean crew?
What's from the information we could gather from them, they ran into the troubled waters at about 18 nautical miles off the coast of Durban. That was on Saturday morning, Saturday night, exactly 19:00 hours in the evening of Saturday. Although they mentioned as well that the weather condition had been very terribly bad since the very morning of that day, and it was likely because of the fact that the weather affected them so much, so that the tugboat lost all the all the equipment, and the water started gushing in, and that is what we have for now. But I think the South African Safety and Maritime Authority are really conducting investigations into that. So until that investigation is out, we will not be able to give you exact details, because they are also very traumatized, as at the time they were given a bit of what happened.
Now, High Commissioner, what is the immediate assistance the consular support is giving in terms of support to the families of the crew member who lost his life and the 5 that are still missing? In terms of communicating with the families and just continuous updates. Can you just bring us in and just let us know what they're feeling and what their reactions are?
Right now, the series of meetings are being held with the families in Lagos. The government is actually on top of it. All the families have been identified, and they are being cancelled. In terms of psychosocial therapies are being applied on them, and many of them are being given up-to-date information. As I said, I've been here and I remain here up to the end of the whole problems, to see that we provide the real-time information that the family might need, and to also ensure that we tried as much as possible to attend to their feelings and their welfare. And concerning the crew that are here, the 12 surviving one, immediate assistance have been provided to them, in terms, because they lost everything into the accident. They've been given new clothing, medical daily needs, and everything has been provided for them, and they are well settled in an hotel in Port Elizabeth. Right now, as I said, they with the immigration to do necessary documentation that will facilitate their departure to Nigeria. So in short, there has been real-time communication with the families, and again, we've been also attending to their needs, both in Nigeria as well as here in Port Elizabeth.
Well, High Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We are going to leave it there for today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's Nigeria's acting High Commission to South Africa, Alexander Temitope Ajayi, joining us on the line.
Stay tuned to Channel Africa. Stream us on our new and updated website, channelafrica.co.za.
Our strikes continue unabated in the Middle East, with Israel targeting Tehran and Beirut, while the U.S. forces press ahead amid Iranian counterattacks on Gulf states like the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain and Kuwait. U.S. President Donald Trump vows relentless action until regime change, as the UN Security Council calls for an urgent ceasefire to avert a humanitarian disaster. SABC News correspondent Blake Sifton has the latest update.
The situation, the attacks, the violence continues unabated. There has been more strikes in Tehran overnight, throughout the night, and Iran's attacks on its Gulf neighbors, on Israel, continue as well. There were sirens in Israel overnight. Saudi Arabia has reported intercepting several cruise missiles as well as drones off the coast of Kuwait. It's been reported that an oil tanker suffered some kind of explosion. And in Qatar, authorities there have said that they are going to evacuate people living near the U.S. Embassy as a precautionary measure. Now, that follows several attacks on U.S. diplomatic missions in the Gulf in recent days. Those began on Monday in Kuwait, with smoke seen billowing out of the U.S. Embassy compound there. Then on Tuesday in Riyadh, 2 drones attacked the U.S. Embassy there. and then later in the evening on Tuesday, a drone crashed into the parking lot near the U.S. consulate in Dubai. So this does seem to be a trend, and authorities in Qatar are taking precautionary measures there. For many, many years, Iran has threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz in the event of any conflict, any wider conflict, because it's a vital choke point, and they know that they could essentially influence the global economy very easily. So the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, says that they have closed the Strait of Hormuz. There's been multiple attacks, near daily attacks really, targeting oil tankers, either with drones or maritime drones, essentially kamikaze boats, or missiles. Now, President Trump had said that the United States Navy would escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. No tankers, as far as we know, have tried to cross. It's, of course, incredibly dangerous. And we just recently heard from the U.S. Energy Secretary, and he said that the U.S. Navy would escort tankers as soon as it can. But, of course, the Navy is very busy with other things at the moment. So it doesn't look like those escorts will be arranged anytime soon. And even if they are, it's unclear if oil tankers would feel comfortable enough to take the U.S. Navy up on that offer because, of course, Iran, the IRGC, has focused really in many years in preparing their naval forces for asymmetric warfare like this, for attacks on larger ships, using small, agile attack craft, using maritime drones, using anti-ship missiles. So the situation there is developing, and it does not look to be any more secure anytime soon. Iran has said that they will not negotiate under fire. Of course, President Trump has said that this operation, this war, will last weeks. And really, in certain areas, we're seeing escalation, not de-escalation. When you look at Lebanon, the Israeli military is carrying out strikes across the country. They have ordered the mandatory evacuation of the entire civilian population of southern Lebanon. That's around 250,000 people. They've told them to move north of the Litani River, which is essentially the border with that marks southern Lebanon. And they've begun what appears to be now a limited ground incursion. We understand, according to Lebanese state media, they are 6 kilometers into Lebanon. Whether this evacuation order is a precursor to a wider, deeper invasion remains unclear. But in fronts of this conflict like Lebanon, it is escalating, not de-escalating.
And that was SABC News correspondent Blake Sifton. It is 22 after 12 Central African Time.
Ritmos e Cultura, com Jacob Tivani.
Fiéis ouvintes do Ritmos e Cultura, hoje em linha com uma das grandezas da música moçambicana, porque não? Ele que é um dos kings da marrabenta, uma bermuda in the building.
É um prazer enorme estar a fazer parte deste programa. Deixe-me só saudar. Boa tarde a todos os ouvintes que me ouvem neste preciso momento. Meu nome é Uma Bermuda, de Alau Fanelo Estarapo, Gajo Aguda Canhela é Mabiscato. Eu vou saudar de uma maneira diferente. Ah, tita buia, manango, tiduma tifika guiane. Ah, tita buia, manango, tiduma tifika guiane. Ani motive lo ababa yena otiva mina haikonama. Ani motive lo anona yena otiva wahimbo. Watwa, cá estou eu, irmão, para conversarmos, para falarmos um pouco de tudo. Estou aqui, estou aberto. Eu estou muito feliz porque é a primeira vez que eu falo nesta rádio, falo para os ouvintes, então estou muito feliz.
Ritmos e Cultura com Jacob Tivani. Todos os domingos, das 20 às 21 horas.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
The Iranian embassy in South Africa is hosting a memorial service to honor the life of the slain supreme leader, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, who was killed in a military strike alongside several military commanders and civilians amid the ongoing conflict involving the USA and Israel against Iran. The ceremony is being held at the residence of the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Waterkloof Ridge, Pretoria. For the latest developments, we are joined on the line by our reporter, Michael Mbewe. Michael, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, Lulu, and good afternoon to our listeners.
Now, what's the latest on the memorial service of the slain Supreme Leader?
Yes, indeed, Lulu, we're coming live to you from the embassies, from the ambassadors of the Islamic Republic of Iran house in Waterkloof Ridge in Pretoria. Quite a somber mood prevailing here, where members of the diplomatic corps are arriving one by one to pay their respects and conveying messages of condolences to the Iranian ambassador to South Africa. Among those in attendance, I noticed there was a former South African Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Naledi Pandor, as well as the Chinese ambassador, Venezuelan ambassador, and many other, highly respected people in the diplomatic corps, but also our local politicians. So I saw some members of the SACP, members of Al Jamaa Party, but also Khumalo, the MK, controversial MK, party leader that started the party. We understand what happened with the party, with Jacob Zuma, indeed, Lulu. So just to also highlight maybe what led to this, just a brief bio about this leader who has been slain for the sake of our listeners. Is Ali Khamenei has served as Iran's supreme leader since 1989, succeeding Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. So notice the difference between Khamenei and Khomeini. Following the 1979 Islamic Revolution. So he was born in Mashhad in 1939. He studied Islamic theology and became actively involved in opposition to Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, which led to multiple arrests and period of exile before the Iranian Revolution. After the revolution, Khamenei held several senior positions, including President of Iran from 1981 to 1989 during the Iran-Iraq War. As supreme leader, he has been Iran's highest political and religious authority, overseeing the armed forces, judiciary, state broadcasting, and key strategic institutions. His leadership has significantly shaped Iran's domestic government, regional policy, and relations with Western powers over the past 3 decades. He was killed in a strike at the start of the U.S. and Israel assault on Saturday, and we have learned that authorities in Iran have postponed the funeral ceremony for the late supreme leader as U.S. and Israel forces continue to intensify strikes across the country. An official said that there have been many requests from people wanting to attend the 3-day event at Tehran's prayer complex, and that infrastructure needed to be prepared, and that had been due to begin on Wednesday night, Lulu.
And just for interest sake, Michael, is there a condolence book available for the public to sign?
Absolutely. All these dignitaries that are coming through are signing a condolence book. But also talking, on a side with the official who just updated me, on a side that the death toll, according to the Iranian state media, the death toll from 5 days of this U.S.-Israel attacks has reached to 1,045 people dead and more than 6,000 people wounded. So, quite, a remarkable event indeed that we're witnessing in Iran, Lulu.
And how long is the memorial service going to be? And has there been any information that may not be in the media space so far that you've managed to pick up from the embassy itself?
Well, I think one other thing that I've picked, the mourning period, according to sources, they say it takes about 40 days. But one thing that I also found out is about the succession, plan of the supreme leader, because they don't normally take too much time. And what we have, found out is that Mujtaba Khamenei, who is the son of Iran's late supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has emerged as a leading contender to take up the country's top post after years spent cultivating influence within the establishment and forging close ties with the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, otherwise known as IRGC.
Does it mean that he's got support of the council that will be making a decision? What's the stance there?
Absolutely. I think that will emanate after maybe the funeral ceremony has taken place. And as we know, this is the 6th day of this conflict. And what is other thing that they are worrying about is that the Iran's Minister of Foreign Affairs is accusing the U.S. and Israel of striking about 33 civilian sites across the country. These locations reportedly include hospitals, schools, residential areas, the Tehran Grand Bazaar, and the historic Golestan Palace complex. And another thing that we learned is that there are also growing signs that the Kurdish Iranian armed groups are launching a ground offensive in northwest Iran against the Islamic government. So too much complex in this conflict that we are witnessing in front of our eyes. But also another interesting thing is that Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has also commended Spain for refusing to allow the U.S. to use its bases for the war, whereby U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to cut off trade with Spain, something also that is making rounds within the diplomatic spectrum.
Yes.
Lulu.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for that update. We'll leave it there for today. That's Michael Mbewe, our reporter who is out in Waterkloof Ridge in Pretoria at the Iranian embassy in South Africa, where they're hosting a memorial service to honor the life of the slain Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. It is 12:30 and our news headlines up next.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. The new report by the United Nations Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan warns that the country is sliding dangerously close to renewed conflict. The Commission says political and military leaders are undermining the 2018 peace agreement that ended years of civil war. South Africa's private investigator Paul O'Sullivan says he moved his family out of the country for the protection against the people who wanted to kill him. O'Sullivan is appearing before the ad hoc committee investigating allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system of the country. And Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has condemned the U.S. for sinking an Iranian frigate off the coast of Sri Lanka yesterday. Channel Africa News on Ellen Zinzi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Musibu Dimakura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So CAF has officially confirmed the dates as well as kick-off times for the upcoming quarter-final matches of the 2025-2026 CAF Champions League, setting up a series of high-profile encounters across the continent in March. So among the standout fixtures is the heavyweight clash between Egyptian giants Al Ahly as well as Tunisian champions Espérance Sportive de Tunis. The first leg will be played in Tunis on the 15th of March, the return leg scheduled for Cairo on the 21st of March. Another intriguing tie will see South African powerhouse Mamelodi Sundowns host Mali's Stade Milan. That's on the 13th of March in the opening leg in the capital city Pretoria. The decisive return match will then be played in Bamako on the 22nd of March. Defending champions Pyramids FC also face a demanding test against Moroccan military side AS FAR. Their first meeting is set on the 13th of March in Morocco before the return fixture in Egypt on the 21st of March. Meanwhile, Morocco's Aras Bakan will begin their quarterfinal against Sudanese side Al Hilal on the 14th of March, with the second leg scheduled for the 22nd of March. So the semi-finals are scheduled to take place in April, with the first leg between the 10th as well as the 12th of April, while the return legs are scheduled for the 17th and the 19th of April. Onto this story now, a case in which 4 athletes, Refilwe Morange, Zebani Ngozi, Karabo Motibe, as well as Lydia Jele, are questioning the credibility as well as the authenticity of their positive doping test, will return to court on the 20th of April for a further status hearing. So Tsapang Magwati, representing the quartet, said they had previously approached the court demanding direct access access to anti-doping administration as well as management systems. He says they were pleading to be allowed to have their own credentials, a username as well as a password to access the system. He also explained that during earlier engagements, the respondents only allowed them to view the system on their laptops. Now, the legal representatives of the Botswana National Olympic Committee as well as the anti-doping organization Phako Makofe says they oppose the application fielded by the athletes. On to some cricket news now. Shukri Conrad, the head coach of the South African men's national cricket team, admitted that they were not good enough on Wednesday as they crashed out of the ICC T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka to New Zealand. South Africa lost by 9 wickets in the first semi-final in Kolkata and were outplayed from the first ball to the end of the team, or rather to the end by a team that that South Africa beat in the group stages. Conrad said they lost the match from the toss but refused to make any excuses for the poor performance.
No, I don't think we were good enough on the night. Obviously, it would have been a nice toss to win, but that's no excuse. We didn't post anything close to what would have been competitive. We recovered nicely with Stubbo and Marco, but I thought New Zealand were excellent. Exploited conditions really well with their spinners up front, and we just never got out the blocks. So, yeah, full marks to them. They were a hell of a lot better than us tonight.
Now, before Wednesday's match, the Proteas had won all 7 of their World Cup matches and were widely tipped to reach the final against India or England. They played on an unfamiliar Eden Gardens wicket, having spent most of the tournament in Ahmedabad. Conrad, though, refused to use the change in conditions as an excuse for their defeat.
Yeah, they strangled us up front, lost wickets, didn't get any sort of momentum going. And yeah, a hell of a lot didn't go right tonight. But that was probably enforced because they were so good and they never gave us a sniff. We had one chance early on, didn't go to hand, and yeah, pretty much plain sailing for them after that. So yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try and make excuses for a bad night. We weren't good and they were excellent.
And finally, in tennis news, Novak Djokovic said he sees no reason to retire from tennis given that he is still motivated to compete and are capable of beating the best players in the world right now. The 38-year-old Serbian defeated defending champion Jannik Sinner in a thrilling semi-final at the Australian Open in January before falling to the world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz in the final, proving he is still a force on the sport's biggest stages. The 24-time Grand Slam champion said he enjoys picking as well as choosing his schedule, which revolves mostly around the 4 Grand Slams and tune-up events. He also makes space for the Indian Wells tournament in California, where he is a 5-time champion. That Indian Wells tournament getting underway today, where Novak Djokovic has received a bye in the first round and will only be action in the 3rd round of this tournament. Building up, of course, to the 2nd Grand Slam tournament of the year, the French Open. 12:37 p.m. Central African Time. That's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, do send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective. We are on OpenView's audio bouquet. Channel 628. Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon. The International Monetary Fund has completed a staff mission to Kenya and says that discussions with the East African countries' authorities will continue at the upcoming IMF World Bank spring meetings. In a statement, the IMF says that the aim of the visit was to discuss recent economic developments and advance technical discussions after Kenya requested a new lending program. Meanwhile, yesterday, Kenya's Finance Minister John Mbadi said the government did not expect the visit to yield an agreement on a new program. IMF and the Kenyan officials also discussed risks, including potential spillovers from the Middle East conflict. Mediclinic Southern Africa is championing the expansion of public-private partnerships to reduce the country's surgical backlogs. This private healthcare provider has already restored sight to over 500 patients through pro bono collaborations with provincial health departments. Industry Affairs Executive Bob Govender.
So I think it's important to note that the public hospitals, whilst they're doing very well in terms of providing service, they face severe constraints in their theatre capacity. So what we do as Mediclinic, we provide the access to our spare theatre capacity. And by this process, we allow them to reduce their surgical backlogs. So the partnership and the collaboration extends beyond just working side by side and goes to having a positive impact on the patient's life.
The Durban Convention Bureau and the South Coast Tourism and Investment Enterprise have positioned South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal provincial South Coast as a contender for hosting global business events. This follows the hosting of Meetings Africa 2026. Over 300 international buyers from across Africa and India were hosted during the event, designed to showcase the region's infrastructure and investment potential. Chief Executive Officer of the South Coast Tourism and Investment Enterprise, Dr. Vusmuzi Sibiya.
When we talk about the Convention Bureau, as well as in partnership with the KZN South Coast, we basically positioned ourselves as a mass destination of choice within the borders of the KZN. Now, with our vision to host the big conferences on our area, be it the meetings, the events, the incentives, and the big events within our area.
Still in Southern Africa, Zambia has recorded stronger revenue collections, rising exports, and improved economic growth during 2025. This according to the latest debt statistical bulletin released by the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. The report shows that revenue and grants reached $2.8 billion in the fourth quarter of 2025, exceeding the target of $2.4 billion by 15.9%. This performance was largely driven by higher income tax collections from both the mining and non-mining sectors, supported by increased profitability in the mining industry. Oil prices surged more than 3%, extending a rally as the escalating U.S.-Israeli war with Iran raised fears of prolonged disruptions to vital Middle East oil and gas supplies. Brent crude advanced $2.44 or 3% to $83.84 per barrel, a fifth session of gains. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose $2.44 or 3.27% to $77.10. Crude oil markets remained on the edge as they face ongoing risks to supply following the attacks in the Middle East. Now let's have a look at financial indicators. $1 in Nigeria is 1,000 naira 379, Botswana 13 pula 24, Kenya 128 shilling 177, Zambia 19 kwacha 124, BRICS countries $1 in Brazil 5 real 24, Russia 77 rubles 749, India 92 rupees 128, China 6190, South Africa 16 rand 41 cents. $1 is 74 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Commodities: gold is trading at $5,163, platinum at $2,175 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $83.85 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 117144459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chandruko Ligege.
business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Well, it is 12:44 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. The African Diaspora Forum has welcomed a parliamentary call for universities in South Africa to disclose a list of all African academic staff numbers. Our institutions have until March the 18th to submit the information. Our forum president, Dr. Vusmuzi Sibanda, says the move is not sinister and aims to clarify the situation. He now joins us on the line. Dr. Sibanda, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the listeners, and thank you very much for inviting us.
Now, what's your reaction to the committee's call for a list of all foreign academics? And do you believe this request is justified, or does it raise concerns about discrimination?
Well, look, the source, the mere fact that there's been some complaints about it means that, some clarity needs to be obtained, especially because some of the statements are statements that are just said without any verification. If you look at the 7% figure that is obviously given, and the fact that these are higher institutions of learning, and the bulk of, the people that work here are people that should be ranked as, maybe critical skills, individuals. It therefore means this is a kind of research or exercise that is going to clarify issues and ensure that people probably don't go about saying unsubstantiated statements that can cause a lot of unsettlement and disorder. I mean, of course, again, if indeed there is people that employed in contrary to the laws of the country, then that will also be addressed, because that will be quite irregular and prejudicing the native South Africans.
Now, what risks do you see in compiling and publicizing such a list? And could this move contribute to xenophobia or profiling within universities?
Look, it might. I mean, to a certain extent, obviously, making such information, public and bringing in that information might. But you will obviously remember that information already, is in circulation, because these are people, at higher institutions, and the bulk of them that are non-citizens or that are non-South Africans or ordinarily unknown. The issue is that it might actually, assist in getting some clarification, because they are being ordinarily already targeted, without any justification, to that particular, targeting. And of course, I mean, it may lead to, quite a number of, some of these people deciding to leave, because, the bulk of these academics are people that are highly sought for. Their skills are highly sought for, the world over. And they might actually leave, as we have seen in the past, a number of, people that, left the country because, of either delays in permits, or they're unhappy. But yes, I mean, there are some minimal fears there that needs to be addressed, by the originators. I mean, especially, by the originators of the information.
Now, could this move affect research output, academic collaboration, or institutional reputation, especially with the fact that you do mention that they are highly sought after?
Definitely. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, you might actually get to a situation where
Dr. Sibanda. All right, so
we have a lot of people, including doctors, that work at.
Dr. Sibanda, I'm going to ask you to. I'm going to ask you to just start from the beginning, because we missed a lot of that. I think we're having network issues here, so just start again with regards to the research affecting research output and collaborations.
Well, yes, definitely. I mean, look, we're going to see quite a lot of these academics, maybe being unwilling to come to South Africa, considering that environment, which is relatively toxic, where, fingers are being pointed at them as if they were not making meaningful contribution. So at the end of the day, with this, I mean, people are going to take it with a pinch of salt, and they're going to see themselves as vulnerable to such attacks, because once you've got such information being publicized, so these people might feel that they are no longer safe, and even other, institutions that want to work with South might find it a bit difficult to collaborate and even bring some of their, fellow, professors and so forth to come to South Africa because they are going to view it as, putting their lives at risk.
And what message would you like to send to foreign nationals working in South Africa's universities?
Well, look, the best that we can obviously say is that to them is that, look, for starters, it might actually assist, to get this information, dealt with, because we believe that, a good number of them, there might be just a few instances where, maybe such practices, are not above board. But we believe that, such information might help, to clarify the need that the country has. And so that, those people that perpetrate such information might actually get to realize that, South Africa has a need, and it's a country that lives within and amongst other countries, and that needs to share, even in the skills. And as a result, it also needs professionals from anywhere else in the world. So it is very important that at least, maybe they stay put for a moment and not take it, obviously to heart, because some of these things are caused, and initiated by, politicians that are seeking relevance, and at the end of the day, trying to, agitate the situation. So at least they must allow the process to unfold without any resistance. And of course, where they feel intimidated, must obviously report such instances.
Now, on a separate note, Dr. Naledi Pandor spoke at an event by the South African Human Rights Commission, and she argues that migrants are scapegoats for government failures. How valid is this view in the context of South Africa's economic and social challenges?
Look, we've been saying this for a very long time, that unfortunately the problem that we have is that the issue, of migrants, taking away jobs is mainly an issue that is brought by, government officials that are not delivering. And it is actually brought in circumstances where, for example, there is poor service delivery. So Dr. Pandor is right on the spot. She is spot on that. And it's something that needs to be, addressed, because when politicians become, sometimes bankrupt, they want to find, an easy exit.
Just in wrapping up very quickly, Dr. Sibanda, Dr. Pandor's statement that South Africa does not belong to everyone living in it illegally has sparked debate. How does the Africa Diaspora Forum respond to her assertion, and just what implications does this have for migrants and refugees in the country?
Look, that statement is definitely a statement that cannot be looked at as a malicious statement per se, because it was also, even if it's in the Constitution, it is in the Constitution in context of people that are lawful in the country. And therefore, it does not obviously say that, basic human rights may be denied, like it has been discussed in the past. Say, okay, look, if somebody, for example, need emergency treatment, they should be attended to. But the truth of the matter is that that statement that says that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, it is actually contextualized in the sense that to those who live in it, because they are supposed to be there lawfully and, within the bounds of the law, because already the Constitution is law. It cannot promote something that is obviously unlawful. A lot of people obviously want to take it in isolation and say, as long as you live in it, it means then that, it belongs to you. But that can only be further from the truth.
Well, Dr. Sibanda, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update.
Only a pleasure. Good afternoon.
That was African Diaspora Forum President Dr. Vusmuzi Sibanda joining us on the line. And, Mateko is here for the Upside team, and she'll give us an update as to what's coming up today.
Yes, today we're going to the gallery, just one of the conversations that we're going to be having. Noordhoek Valley is taking place this March. Okay, so we're looking at dates 14th to 15th, I beg your pardon. The Noordhoek Open Studio is going to be making a return. We're going to the gallery, we're going to check out the wonderful art, and we're hoping to catch up with Amy Kruger, who has become a highlight as part of this particular festival. So cultural arts, it's going to be a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it as part of our programming after one.
Definitely something to look forward to on the Upside, coming up at the top of the hour with Matseko Musito and Tebogo Lekuleni. Well, we continue on Africa Update.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel África. Adivinha só, a Channel África quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel África está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Well, it is 12:55 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Today on #Africa Update Ask, the African Diaspora Forum has welcomed a parliamentary call for universities in South Africa to disclose a list of all foreign academic staff numbers. Now, our question to you: should universities prioritize hiring South African academics first, or should institutions recruit the best talent regardless of nationality? Or share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +267 83 288 6684. #Africa Update Us.
Africa's story shines at 60. Channel Africa.
The African perspective.
I'll stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12:56 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802. Now, the late Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez has been hailed as a freedom fighter and a unifier. Now, this emerged during a ceremony to honor his legacy at Freedom Park in Pretoria, South Africa. The commemoration comes at a time when the world is in turmoil. 2 months ago, the U.S. administration attacked and captured Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife, Ditaba Zodezi. Has more.
Honoring the late Hugo Chavez is a reminder to the people of Venezuela that they must fight and protect their country. This is according to Venezuelan ambassador to South Africa, Carlos Fio Azevedo. He says Venezuelans must resist the invasion of their country by external forces. He says that the U.S. violated their constitution by abducting President Nicolas Maduro and his wife.
We are still living difficult times because of the U.S. aggressions against our country, the threats that they are still in place. Although we have succeeded to prevail, the revolutionary government is still in place, the institutions are still in place, the people is mobilized in the street, but they kidnap our president and the first lady in a brutal military operation that killed more than 100 people in our country.
Speaking during the Chavez commemoration, ANC First Deputy Secretary General Nomvula Mokonyane has called on BRICS member countries to stand against U.S. aggression.
It happens at a time where Venezuela is going through a very difficult situation again of aggression by the United States of America, was stealing a head of state together with his dear wife, and going to an extent of extracting oil aggressively, illegally so, and and also seeing a member of the United Nations. And that's what the world has forgotten. America is a member of the United Nations.
Mokonyane also condemned the killing of school children in Iran during the joint attacks by the US and Israel. She added that the United Nations is weak and must be transformed to have a meaningful existence.
There's no justification whatsoever of going for girls in a boarding school, bombing institutions that promote, civilization and the right to exist, and attacking a leader of a sovereign state.
And that report by Ditaba Tsotesi. And that's how we wrap Africa Update today. It's been a good one. Let's continue on all our social media platforms, and we'll do this again tomorrow on Friday. Bye-bye.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
It is that time of the day, the upside, on with you from 1 to 4. Before we begin, let's cross